This is Valley News Live at noon.
Good afternoon. We have breaking news out of Mahnomen County this afternoon. Authorities say a man is on the run after stabbing another man this morning in Mahnomen County. Just before 3 a.m., a man was brought to a Mahnomen emergency room with stab wounds to the back. The victim was airlifted to Fargo. Mahnomen County deputies and White Earth officers responded to a home in the Riverland housing area east of Mahnomen to interview witnesses, and officials say they've identified the suspect. The suspect left the scene before police got there, but this is believed to be an isolated incident, and police say there is no risk to the public. We'll be sure to bring you any new information as we receive it. Two men were arrested after someone called police saying they were carjacked at gunpoint. It happened just before 8 last night in the 400 block of 2nd Street Southwest in Jamestown. A sheriff's deputy located a stolen car near the location of the theft. The people inside took off down an alley, but after a short chase, the driver, Christopher Grabinger, arrested. He is charged with possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine and fleeing. The passenger, Stephen Pierce, was charged with possession of drug paraphernalia. Also yesterday in Jamestown, several law enforcement agencies conducted a high-risk traffic stop. At least one person in the car was a suspect in several residential and vehicle burglaries in and around Jamestown. Officers executed 2 search warrants in rooms and vehicles at the Comfort Inn and discovered items related to the burglaries, plus 2 handguns and drugs. A 5th search was conducted on a motel room at the Quality Inn where more drugs were found. 4 people were arrested after the search warrants and traffic stops. Charges are related to burglary, possession of stolen property, firearm violations, and various drug charges. This investigation is ongoing, and police say more arrests could be made. Well, a much colder than average this morning and today. Let's check in with meteorologist Jim Gash for the rest of the week.
That's right, Jillian. Today was quite the chilly one as you woke up, and those flags down at the Dakota Magic Skycam are flying, but no faster than normal. As you woke up today, we saw low temperatures in the single digits for some folks up in Grand Forks, and here in Fargo, our lowest temperature today was 10 degrees, which tied the record. Now, temperatures right now are much warmer. We're seeing a lot of folks sitting below freezing still, though here in Fargo it is 28 degrees, and out west it's a bit warmer with temperatures in the low to mid 30s there, and the wind chill, thanks to those calmer winds, isn't too bad. We're seeing most folks in the 20s in the east and those low to mid 30s in the west. And those sky conditions are clear throughout the valley. There were some clouds moving through Lake of the Woods County a little bit ago, but those seem to have dried up. Now, Jillian, I'll let you know how long we expect this cold to last and when that warm-up is coming, just in a few minutes.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Jim. Thanks. Possibly armed and on the loose, Fargo police are looking for this woman in connection with a shooting last week at a South Fargo apartment. 23-year-old Tarnell Abraham is wanted for aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. Police say if you see her, don't approach her. Call 911 with key information about what she's wearing, if she's in a vehicle, and what direction she's heading. Police believe she was involved in a shooting in the 2700 block of 42nd Street South last Monday, where a woman was shot while holding a baby inside her apartment. Her husband had been outside arguing with 2 people in a white Jeep when they exchanged gunfire. We're told the woman shot has life-threatening injuries. Fargo City Commissioner Dave Pepcorn has been stripped of his title as deputy mayor, and the woman behind his ousting, Arlette Preston, has been sworn in as his replacement. Preston and fellow Commissioner John Strand call Pepcorn's behavior derogatory and abusive, following comments he made regarding the Downtown Engagement Center and the removal of park benches within downtown. Mayor Tim Mahoney expressed his opposition on the newly elected deputy mayor, claiming Preston has her own agenda. Abortion rights have emerged as a driving factor for Democratic voters this fall. Advocates on both sides of the issue are canvassing in key battleground states to make sure their voter turnout. As Natalie Brand reports, key gubernatorial and legislative races could shape new abortion laws at the state level.
In a key swing district within a battleground state, abortion rights advocates are canvassing 7 days a week.
I would say the stakes have never felt higher.
Courtney Baus is director for Planned Parenthood Votes in Pennsylvania, a state with both an open Senate seat and governor's race.
Abortion access is literally like in the balance this election.
The political arm of Planned Parenthood says it's investing a record $50 million nationwide, spending from Arizona to New Hampshire. On the other side of the issue, the Political Action Committee's Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America says it's focused on a similar map with a nearly $80 million budget. The group says it's also canvassing and provided these photos, but declined an interview.
It's respect for life.
Joseph Downey of Pennsylvanians for Human Life and Bucks County Pro-Life Coalition says while his group is not political, he's voting for candidates who are against abortion.
We're advocating for those who can't advocate for themselves. We're their voice. We're the only voice they have.
The single issue is energizing voters across the spectrum.
I generally vote pro-choice anyway, but I will now go straight for whoever is pro-choice across the board.
I think that it is a state issue.
But Bucks County resident Mike Snyder says a lot more will factor into his vote.
I would pray that no one I know is required or is forced to get an abortion, but at the same time, the economy is number one, energy prices would be number two, and crime would be number three.
In the final stretch, canvassers are competing for persuadable voters as the issue of abortion faces its next big test at the ballot box. Natalie Brand, Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
A new CBS News Battleground Tracker poll found the percentage of voters who say abortion is very important to them is a little lower now at 54% compared to 59% in September. Tonight's the night for the debate between Minnesota's gubernatorial candidates. It's been hosted by our Gray sister station in Rochester. Valley News Live's Justin Betty will be among the panel of journalists asking questions. You can watch it live tonight at 7 on KX or on valleynewslive.com. Coming up at noon, a new company has a unique take on remote work, modular office spaces at hotels. We'll explain how it works. But next, we'll have weather to plan your day.